This is a yarn hank. You've probably seen it before. It's a little different from your normal yarn skeins that you'll find at a Joann's or a Michael's. This is usually done at higher end yarn stores for hand dyed yarn, and I'm gonna show you how I unwind this hank without the use of equipment. Start untwisting it, and at the top, usually there's some kind of knot, and then when you untwist it, it'll look like this. Now at this point, you've got a giant circle, and you're gonna have little strands of yarn around it that are holding the whole thing together. Now I like to use chairs to unwind my hank, so all I'm gonna do is place my hank around. And it doesn't need to be perfect, you just wanna make sure that your yarn can go all the way around without it getting knotted. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the hank and I'm gonna find these pieces of yarn that are keeping the hank together, and I'm gonna cut them. At this point, you're gonna wanna find your yarn end. For this one, it was looped around one of the knots, so that's how I found it. And now you're just gonna wanna start pulling. As you do this, there's a chance things start to get knotted, so I would just be very careful and be very patient, because it is gonna be a little more difficult to do this than it would if you had the proper equipment. Getting started is always the hardest part, but then once you get started, it gets much easier and you can easily start to pull. Now when I do this, I like to start by winding it into a ball first before I wind it into a cake. I just find it too difficult to go from hank to cake, so I like to do a ball first. Here's what my yarn looks like now. If you don't have a yarn winder, you can leave it like this and you're ready to go, but I have one, so I'm gonna put it into cake form because I think it's just a little easier to use. Also, if your cake doesn't come out perfectly the first try, I would do it again. I always cake everything twice, because sometimes when you're caking straight from the ball or straight from the skein, things can get tangled, so your tension can get messed up, so it doesn't come out perfectly. So I always cake things twice. Here's what my first cake looked like. You can see it's a little round, the tension isn't very good. This is what my second cake looks like. You can see the tension's just a lot better. It's not bulging at the sides, and it's just all around a better cake.